Hello and welcome to Spotlight on Civil Contracting, the show that looks at all aspects of the civil contracting industry here in New Zealand. I'm your host, Greg Ward. Great to have you with us. If you're just joining us for the first time, lovely to have your company. If you're a long-time watcher, great to have you here as well. Last week we spoke with Jim Benson, the New Zealand chair of the Committee for the Institution of Civil Engineers. We were talking around the intersection between engineering and contracting. This week we have two gentlemen from Schick Civil Construction joining us here in the studio. We have National Manager Operations for Schick Civil Construction, Mark Dawbin, and Colin Vette, our Divisional Manager Projects, also from Schick Civil Construction. So we're talking around the business that you have. So obviously you've been in the game for quite some time. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of the organisation and some of the focus?
Hi, thanks for having us on board. Yeah, Schick started approximately 30 years ago with Lindsay Schick himself. He started up with a digger truck and did some farm work, did a bit of work around Hamilton, and he grew that over a number of years to about a dozen trucks and 3 or 4 diggers. We've really grown our civil game from there, from a number of trucks and diggers into a fleet of 250 guys or people, right across the full industry, including hard landscaping and features from there.
So gents, we may have people who are watching this show for the first time and they'll see the word contracting and be wondering about this. So can you tell us, firstly, what is a contractor and then what is civil contracting?
Well, we are asked to build something by a client, and so you put a fixed sum in there. It's estimated around price and materials. It's packaged together. It's an offer. We then employ staff, materials, machines to go and build whatever that is. We sign a contract that has penalties and time clauses against it. Our goal as a company in particular is to always build it on time, on spec, on budget, and to a high level of spec and quality. So that's why we're called contractors. That's a contract.
So let's talk a little bit about you both. How long have you been with Schick?
Myself, I joined in 2000, so I'm coming up nearly on 18 years, and I was employee number 16 there. So we've grown a little bit. We're up to about 250 we'll get by Christmas. So it's been a pretty big growth curve there. It's been enjoyable. It's hard work, but it's fun. We've got a lot of good staff, and it makes it exciting to come to work every day.
And Colin, what about yourself?
I think I was 35 probably, in 2006. Yep. So they've got, 2006 there was 35 people, there's over 200 now. I used to come on board as the surveyor to basically set up a survey department because everything else was, they previously contracted everything in, and so they had no control over when the guy would show up or do what he was supposed to do, or even whether he did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, so it definitely makes sense then, obviously, to have it in-house.
And then we sort of started to get a bit of control on our volumes and bits and pieces, which is where a lot of measure and value contracts are based, and so we've had that sort of control ever since, and so it's been good. And then I've sort of moved into a bit of, because I've got a precast background and a concrete background and a survey background, so it's sort of given me the ability to build stuff as well. So that's where the hard landscaping side of it's developed, and around the concrete works and bits and pieces.
So guys, did you always want to be contractors? Did anybody warn you about being a contractor?
Well, yeah, that's an interesting question. Looking back now, no one warned me about the hours. Pretty much, it's a lifestyle. It's pretty full on. It's early starts. It's intense with the staff at times. It can go late. You're going to meet clients. It can chew up your weekends. But I think it's what you get out of it, what you put into it. And we put a lot in. We look after our staff. We try to look after our clients. And so, yes, it's hard, but it's rewarding, and nothing's easy. And it's an enjoyable industry, and there are definitely some people in the wider industry that are very, very fun to be around. We all work hard, but we know how to have a bit of fun as well.
They're one of those givens that if something is difficult to do and you achieve it to the maximum, the satisfaction is immense, yeah?
Makes the fun times fun, but you do have to put in the work to get there. Yeah. But yeah, no one explained that.
What about you, Colin? Is it a similar experience?
Definitely no warnings. Yeah, it's a tough industry, very much a tough industry, but it's a satisfaction fight at the end of it.
So looking at the playing field in terms of the contracting industry, there are significant boom and bust cycles that happen. If we look around the GFC, 2009, 2010, we certainly had a pullback in the overall level of contracts available. But today we look out on the horizon and the cranes are visible for all to see. How much do you plan for issues with the boom and bust cycle, and is this a concern for Schick?
It's definitely something we consider. At the moment, while it's all, it seems all boom out there, we're definitely putting some plans in place around training, teaching, how do we become efficient, not just good, but efficient so that we know where we really sit. Developing long-term strategies or a client base that understands the value we bring to them, not just in price. We can deliver good projects, quality package at a competitive price, and making sure they understand that so that in a year, 2, 5, whenever that cycle turns down, we're balanced and ready to move with the times.
So Schick Civil Construction have been long-time members of Civil Contractors New Zealand, well, Contractors Federation back in the day. Since you joined the organisation, were you aware of the awards structure under the CCNZ organisation?
Probably not initially, but over the last 5, 6 years, the Waikato branch of CCNZ put a big focus on awards and starting at a local level. And so we applied for those from day one, and we've picked up a category award every year. And for 15, 16 and 17, we actually won the Supreme Waikato Award 3 years in a row. So yeah, we do know about it at that level. One of those awards, Colin won back in 2016. And so we took that to the CCNZ National Awards as well. So yeah, we've had a bit of a history there recently. But that's as we've grown into projects that are quite exciting, get a bit of imagination from the public, and they can see a finished product that means something to them. We probably didn't appreciate them early on, but as we've learnt to, or as we've won them, we've realised what it means for the staff, to our clients, and how we can use that to go just to build a bit of pride, a bit of something to lean back on. The staff really like it. They can see what we're finishing. They often don't get to work on these projects, or they don't get to see the end product. So when we win them, we've made a bit of a deal. Thank the guys, and we're able to showcase them to clients.
So putting that awards entry together is not a easy task. I mean, there's a lot that goes into actually putting the submission in. Is it worth the effort?
When you win, yeah, for sure. No, it's a lot of work, but it's definitely, even when you're just preparing your submission, it gives you an appreciation. Oh shit, we actually did a bit more than I thought we did. You know, because you get lost in the detail day to day, and it's not until you sit back and look at all your photos and actually pull it all together and present something that you realise we've actually really achieved something.
So you were up against quite a number of other companies when it came to this particular award. How did you rate your chances?
Average. Because you're talking nationally. You know, like there's a whole bunch of stuff that happened down in Christchurch. Some very, very challenging projects. You know, and we're up against a sewer line that was thrust under a road. You know, 2 k's, 150 metres long or something like that, or something in the sea, or those sort of things. And so it's very. It must be really hard for the judges to actually identify key areas of what was good and what was bad. But obviously, we came out on top, which is fantastic.
Well, you certainly did. If we are talking about awards, then we should really reveal the actual award that you won. And here it is. This is the toki that you received for the award. Of course, this is a ceremonial ads, and as gifted to those showing chiefly qualities.
Now, you'll notice this evening, ladies and gentlemen, that our award winners will be handed a toki, and I have a beautiful assistant. Here he is. Thank you, Fraser. Oh, just like that. Fantastic. This is a toki, and they're going to be handed to each of our winners this evening. Now, the toki is an ads used for ceremonial occasions and in warfare, and also in building. The blade is made from hard greenstone, and the curved handle from strong New Zealand native timber. And presenting a toki to the category winners of the Hirepool Construction Awards, we're proud to present a uniquely New Zealand award. Now, the toki has links to our heritage as a developing nation, symbolising the physical development and growth of our country through the efforts of contractors and constructors. And in keeping with the history of these being of chiefly rank, it's awarded to those companies who have displayed a high level of industry leadership through technical competence, endurance and tenacity. So it's our hope that over time the Toki becomes coveted to the level that increases the competition, encouraging more companies to enter the Hirepool Construction Awards while representing an enduring symbol of Hirepool's commitment and contribution to our industry. So we ask that you display the Toki with pride. Well, time now to announce the second part of Category 1, and that is 1B, companies with an annual turnover of greater than 10 million. There are 10 finalists in this category, so get those applauding hands ready, and they are:
Victoria on the River, Schick Civil Construction. Victoria on the River was once a derelict, rundown car park building which dropped off to an eroded bank. Schick Civil Construction was the only company brave enough to submit a tender and build the amphitheatre for the Hamilton community, which has now become a focal point for the public to enjoy the outdoors.
The winner, ladies and gentlemen, of Category 1B, projects with a value less than $5 million, is Schick Civil Construction, Victoria on the River. And this project was delivered by the Hamilton City Council to help connect the city centre to the Waikato River. The 4,000 square metre section was originally the site of a large commercial building which had been demolished to ground level but not below. Set in the heart of the city on a challenging site with many unknowns and difficult conditions, the parties involved collaborated closely to reduce costs, share risk and plan a facility that allowed council to meet its budget. This project is an excellent example of what can be achieved with all stakeholders working closely together to deliver an outcome which produced an asset for the city that is attractive, functional and affordable. Congratulations to Schick Civil Construction.
So, well, lucky for you, Colin, we have that performance of yours on camera. So let's have a look at the clip.
Well, I didn't really expect this, so thank you very much to everybody, the judges and everyone else. Hi, Paul. This was one very, very challenging project. Initially, it came in way over budget, and we worked very, very closely with the council to bring it down and deliver something I think everyone in Hamilton could be quite proud of. I'd like to thank Gina, ACOM, Hamilton City Council, and everyone else that was involved in the project, and also like to make special mention that the Mayor was right behind this, right down to Mel, the gardener, who really looked after the plants once we left the site, and I think Hamilton really enjoying using this site and using it as it is. So thanks very much, everybody.
Well, you certainly scrubbed that well, Colin, and a very, very well-deserved winner as well. How did it feel going on stage to receive this?
I was shitting myself. I knew I had a 1 in 9 chance of winning it, and it was just very, very nerve-wracking the 10 minutes before it, and then getting up there at the time was, you know, all the glitz and glamour, because I think it was the first time they'd held it at Claudeland, so it was quite, but it's a big stage. So, and there's a few people.
We're into sitting down, talking technical, talking build, and so to get up there, dressed up, and speak, I thought Colin did a fantastic job, and rightly deserved to be up there, because the whole job was fantastic.
Had you prepared something specifically to
yeah, I did actually. I prepared something on my phone and left my phone sitting on the table. So it was very much an ad-lib thing. There was a whole bunch of people that I actually forgot to thank, but it was just you know, nervous that 2 minutes passed pretty quickly, but hey, you know, it was great, fantastic to receive it.
So if we were talking about awards, we should talk about an award-winning project, which is the Victoria on the River development. Can you tell us a little bit about the initial phase of this project, right in the early days?
Yeah, so right back from about 2016, dates on that later, as we tendered, or the Hamilton City put this out for a tender. It's a full landscape package. There was a lot of site clearing, there was a lot of drainage, a lot of hidden unknowns, and then very high level of finish. Product from overseas, one-off runs, don't be shy, don't be late. And so we put a bid in on that, and by all accounts it was well over budget. You know, there was a lot of risk associated, and it was pretty much put back on the contractor to sort. And because it was over budget, it got stalled. But we sat down with Hamilton City and ACOM, and the team, and spent about 6 months value engineering, giving ideas, putting it back, price checking it, sharing the risk. So a lot of sharing the risk, a lot of taking it away from us and putting it on the project to come up with ideas, or parking it to the side and giving ourselves a bit of time to work out how that was going to work, without locking in a price. So we were open to price changing, as long as they were open to ideas and slight changes of product to get the end result, and got it down to the budget that they needed, and then handed that over to Colin to build. He was involved in that negotiating and tendering package. But then he had to go and build it and deliver it on time.
Well, we should talk to Colin then around the ins and outs of the actual build. If you can guide us through the process.
Right. Well, once we took possession of the site, we went through and identified areas that we needed to, off the master program, and identified where our risk areas were and what we had to build in what sequence. And it was a contaminated soil site, so there was a whole bunch of material needed to be removed and taken off site to a controlled landfill. So that was probably part of our first setup phase. We worked through that, and we had a very, very wet winter, as everyone can remember from last winter, and so it provided a heap of challenges. On that bank there was a whole lot of like old bottles and bits and pieces that were from the 18th, 19th century, because it used to be a bloody camping area, and they used to obviously throw the bank, and so the archaeologist and iwi and everything were very interested in that, so we spent quite a bit of time going through that with them, you know, and pulling bottles out of here and there and everywhere else. And then we had to deal with a whole lot of underground services that were unknown right through the old, because it was the old service lane for the Waikato Times building, so everything was we had to treat everything as live, and there was 2 gas mains there, and then there was a 3rd gas main there, and there was only one shown on the drawing, so, you know, so it offered plenty of challenges and opportunities to win and lose.
But at the same time, you're updating the plans to absolutely accurate.
Oh, absolutely. They've got 100% as built now. They know exactly where everything is now. Yeah. And so then, and then there was all the new features that went in, you know, the gardens, the Corten steps, the fairy lights that are over a restaurant there, and then so everyone seems to be pretty delighted with the project, and yeah, I'm quite proud of it when we walk past it. So.
And so you should be.
Probably didn't appreciate it early on, but it was something that council did stick pretty staunchly to, and there was some items there which I felt we could save some significant funds on, but they stuck to what they liked, and they had a vision, and when you look back and stand there now, you certainly go, yes, they definitely need to stick to it, and they made the right idea. It would have been wrong of us to take it out, so they had that vision to connect everybody. They've certainly achieved it, and it has a lot of comments about how it's opened up the river, and it's just phase 1. It's something that everyone talks about in Hamilton. We should use the river, we should use the river. We actually don't even look at it up to then, and so it's a good starting point. It's actually got some public spaces that are usable. They're lunch friendly, they're kid friendly, they're entertainment zone friendly for a small concert or a large concert. You can walk down to the river, you can view the river, there's shops off it. So it's pretty multi-purpose, and the concepts come together pretty well for a start. Hamilton should be pretty happy with what they've got. It's actually good value for money to date.
So the project itself obviously was award-worthy. Do you use in your own tender process elements of talking about the awards for a project such as this?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. We've used obviously around landscaping, playgrounds, the steepness, the difficulty. This particular project, a couple of other projects one prior, they're a bit more focused on, say, roading or earthworks, and so we'll pitch it towards it, but they're definitely all in the scope to show that continuity of putting in for awards, achieving the awards, and being the best in that area or zone of category, or just across the whole company. We can produce that time after time.
One of the things that this does, obviously, as it raises profile in the industry, it gives our young girls and guys an opportunity to see who they'd like to work for in the future. What does Schick do in terms of engendering opportunities for our youth?
So we've always supported trying to grow and train staff from within. Obviously when you're small, that's quite difficult. Our profile wasn't there. We picked up some people and while you're growing them, how do you tell people you're growing them? How do you attract the next people? It's been a challenge, but over the last 5 or 6 years, we've really grown into taking those staff and promoting them and making it known that there's this internal promotion, which we can then advertise and use to put out there for new employees. At the moment, we've just taken on 10 cadets out of Waikato University, and they were just here for the summer on a training program, and they're moving around. They're giving us feedback, so we're learning as well. We're giving them what they're looking for. And that lines up with over the last 5 to 10 years. We've always had some cadets, we just didn't use them as well as we could, so it might not have been very structured, I'd call it. Whereas some of them have come on board over the years, some of them have stuck with us, some of them have moved up. The guy that took Colin's role when Colin moved into projects out of surveying started with us as a labourer, jumped on the grader. He now runs a 10, 12 person survey QA team and is very good. He's been there 11, 12 years, just did his 10-year service club with us. And so we're pretty staunch on that, or we're trying to be. It's a time thing. You can't just have staff there at 10 years. It takes 10 years and a number of people to get there. And we just had a staff function the other day, and we were awarded 4 more for 10 years. And they've all come through some sort of training through the company. Obviously not everybody could start at the bottom and work through. You need some senior guys, but they're mentoring and training a fair number. How do we get that out there as an industry, being even the CCNZ? It's tough. Yeah. It's a tough market to break into. It's not well publicised at schools. It's going to take a fair bit of work for the whole industry to up their game. We've certainly dropped it over a number of years, but I think everyone's trying at the moment to step it up, and it's a very rewarding career for any youth at any age, if we can get them into it.
And we know that it's still a very male-dominated playing field. What can we do as an industry to open it up in terms of gender diversity?
Yeah, well, I think that the fact that we can use that estimating, QA, surveying, drone flying, that back-end office support certainly gives a lot more opportunity for the females to be in there. Well, not to say that they shouldn't be out on machines, but it's it can be quite a rough and ready in the field at times, whereas in the office they can have that support, they can go out, and hopefully there's a couple other females that are there that they can work together, or at least talk about it. How do we attract them in there? Well, it's an exciting time with computer-aided design, all that back-end stuff, where there's large opportunities to sit and grow through it, and go out and have a look out in the field as well.
The rough and ready is certainly no barrier to female employment within the contracting industry, and certainly on the engineering side as well. There's many opportunities across there. But I think you're right. It's really about promoting contracting as an industry, and that's at this stage that's not really getting into the schools as a whole. They're really great to see.
And there's a perception out there that it's a very physical job in the civil industry, but the reality is it isn't, because that's what a digger's for, and that's what a bloody plate compactor's for, and all of those type of things. They are to take the load out of it. So you might drive a rake for a day, but that'll be probably the toughest thing you'll do in a day, or at any time. The rest of the time you're either on a roller, you're driving a digger, or you're delivering material, or you're helping with the design up front, or you're setting it out, or something like that. So the physical side of it it's a bit of a misnomer, a bit of a misconception. You don't actually have to be huge or anything like that.
And with technology coming in, so much is computer controlled. We've invested hugely in computer-aided machines. Someone has to set them up, someone has to design it, someone has to maintain them, someone has to operate them. They don't drive themselves, they're computer-aided. It's actually very technology-based, and there should be a lot of opportunities there for any youth, male, female, to get into and grow that, and all about the efficiency and how you monitor it and track it. I don't think anyone, even in the industry, has got their head around how advantageous that could be in time. It's such a learning scenario.
So what's the future hold for Schick Civil Construction?
Well, we'd like to continue as good as we are. We'd like to train more staff. We'd like to look after them, bring some benefit to those who work for us, and that's giving back to them however we can, healthcare, making sure that they're not overworked, training them, upskilling them so that they're not just stuck at our level, and at the same time grow with the industry and like to double in the next 5-10 years, but carefully. If the growth's there, not growth for growth's sake, growth because we're good at what we do and we have staff that are growing and need to come with us. Across all facets, pretty much, not picking on one industry or not one facet of our game or anything, across a number.
Yeah. And personally, what about your aspirations for both of you?
Myself, well, I've grown from a surveyor that did some set out on the field back in 20 years ago to, I've seen a company grow of 200 plus staff. I don't actually know when I started, I didn't know what that meant. I had no idea we'd get to that size, and so it's not necessarily a goal to be double that, but I'm very keen to be involved, very passionate about our people and making sure that both our people here, wherever we've got branches, obviously Hamilton is our main area, but we've got a branch in Christchurch, Whitianga, Tauranga, a little bit in Auckland, that wherever we are and whatever we're doing, we look after the people and support the community and put back something to wherever we are.
And Colin, your thoughts for your
my future? Really, is to be as good as I can be, really, is what my aim is in life, really. And I'm not as young as I used to be, so I'm quite keen to share some of... I've learned a little bit, so it'd be nice to really share some of that with the guys, and so it's just evolving a role around that, and whether, and I'm sure Schicks will find something in there somewhere along the way, but I generally tend to end up fixing, or not fixing, end up with projects with a bit of a challenge, which is really what I enjoy. So.
Cool. Look, thank you very much indeed for both of you joining us here in the studio. This has been an episode around Schick Civil Construction, talking around some of their focus across the industry, but also their fantastic win at the National Awards with the Victoria on the River development. Thank you very much indeed, Mark Dawbin. Lovely to have you here. Colin, Vette, thank you very much for joining us. Join us next week when we delve into another aspect of the civil contracting industry here in New Zealand. I'm your host, Greg Ward. See you soon.